Hey YouTube, I want to speak briefly about some thoughts I have regarding the war in Israel and Palestine right now. I think what's really getting at me is the civilians suffering, and I just want to elucidate and clarify my thoughts on this, because obviously this conflict is very complex and has been going on for a long time, and it's hard to try and figure out any sort of moral clarity. And I mean, I understand some people feel very strongly about supporting one side as versus the other side, but I can't get away from the feeling that we are ultimately dealing with a question about the nature of humanity. So rather than just trying to figure out who is more righteous or who is less wrong than the other side, I feel like I want to talk about something that's going on between both these sides that is just terribly, terribly ugly. And so if we look at the initial attack, the thing that really stood out, even to someone just watching from a distance, is the undeniable fact that the Hamas operatives basically captured, killed, murdered, slaughtered a group of civilians who were at a music festival. So there's a level of undeniable dehumanization in any military initiative that pretty much goes out of its way to kill clearly defenseless civilians who, just at a dance party. It's pretty awful. I mean, perhaps it wasn't done just for pure bloodlust. Maybe there was an agenda there to just, cause as much outrage as possible in order to invoke a maximum sort of response from Israel, because perhaps that was tactical. But even so, the point remains, doing something like that just to be able to slaughter unarmed civilians in such a way, in such a callous way, it really says something about your view of humanity, or how you can dehumanize certain people based on your perception of them as versus the perception you have of yourself and the people that you align yourself with. So anyway, we had that. Now we've got a response, and the response, I saw a few videos, and we're seeing like young children being pulled out of piles of rubble. And so the response is basically indiscriminate, really. It appears that the Israelis have absolutely no concern at all about hitting civilians. I mean, they can say they're going after the military, the Hamas operatives, but they're not shedding a tear about the fact that they're taking out a very large number of civilians, including young children. And again, it's just, it's awful. It's absolutely awful. Now, the weird thing is, if I look at the media that's coming from sort of the Western perspective, it's entirely really focused on the initial attacks, and really the response attacks are nothing more than sound bites, sanitized sound bites, and there's no video of the repercussions of those attacks. You switch over and check, say, the Al Jazeera feed, and it's kind of the complete reverse. They are now hyper-focused on the Israeli counter-offensive and, how much destruction they're causing to civilians. So what strikes me about these two narratives is that on both sides, when they're asked about the counter-argument, about the harm that they've caused to civilians and ostensibly innocent people, you may as well be talking to the hand. I mean, it elicits virtually zero emotional response. Both sides feel that they are completely justified to perpetrate what are effectively war crimes. So I guess the point I'm making here is that humanity has a most terrible capacity for justifying what I believe are ultimately unjustifiable actions in the name of the unjustifiable actions that have been perpetrated against them. Now, from the Palestinian point of view, it's the occupation, the blockades. It's sort of they almost live in internment camps. It's a terrible life, and they're not in control of their own destiny. And they feel that the wider international community has basically abandoned them, which I guess we have, right? I mean, it's normal. We treat that as the status quo, so it's not like anyone in the international community is coming to rescue them. So perhaps they're justifying it by saying we have to take matter into our own hands and take control of our own destiny, and we believe this is the only way we can do it. But I still can't justify that they went and chose to slaughter a bunch of civilians. They didn't need to do that. They could have stayed a lot more focused on military targets, and if they were going to take civilians, then perhaps taking them as hostage so that they could then use them to trade prisoners seems more justifiable than just straight out slaughtering them and, doing so with apparent joy and pleasure. You've lost your humanity when you're doing stuff like that. However unjust, whatever it was that made you that way, you have become a monster. And likewise, the way, and I guess in some ways it makes it even worse, right? Because Israel can basically they don't have to look in the eye of the people they kill. They can simply blow up entire buildings and sort of sanitize the experience a lot more, simply not be in contact with the terrible human suffering that they're causing. And it's just terrible for me. I'm so disappointed in humanity. Is this what we are? Is this all we can be? I don't know. We're seeing humanity at its worst, I guess. Literally staring into the abyss here and trying to figure out how to get back out of it. But I don't know. If nothing else, one point of clarity that I feel I have come to here is that both sides are war criminals. Ultimately, I believe Israel needs to get their settlements out of Gaza and out of the West Bank, out of territories that really that they have no business really setting up camp there. It's just unnecessarily provocative, and someone needs to make the first move in terms of, well, Israel needs to actually show some genuine goodwill, do something that's really going to indicate that they want things to change, that they're willing to really talk seriously about how these two nations can live in peace. But it's just a pipe dream, isn't it? We're at the extreme other end of that situation, and probably looking at a very long and bloody road ahead of us. I wish I could put a better spin on it than that, but maybe I can come back and make a follow-up video at some point if things start to look a little bit better. Who knows, miracles are possible. Peace.